Hey everybody, Steve Keys here with Keller Williams Capital District, and we are here for another episode of Things That Make You Go, Really? Really? See, I think what I decided to do is I'm gonna change the name of it every time. So last time I did Things That Made You Go, ah, and this time I did Things That Make You Go, Really? And so I think I'm gonna keep changing the name of it. I don't know. Let me know if you think that's clever or not. But anyway, so here we are for another episode. So I am here in the basement of a property. So, backstory to this. This property was winterized, which means that all of the water from the pipes were drained because the heat was shut off. And so water being in the pipes would freeze, they would break, they would pop, it would cause damage to the house. So, this property was winterized. And we were turning the water back on because now it's summer and this home won't be on the market again over the winter. So we're turning the water back on. So while we were turning it on, this happened before I thought of doing this. It was like the fifth thing in a row that happened to me that made me think of, hey, maybe I should do a video series about this. But over here, you can see that hole there in the ceiling. So over there, I found a pipe up in the ceiling that had been dead-ended, and it had been shoved into the floor. So the pipe came off and then did this and went straight down. So when the property was winterized, there's no way to drain the water out of that pipe because it's bending down, unless you were using like a vacuum or something, unless you were literally sucking the water out. And even then it wouldn't work because the pipe was dead-ended. So it wouldn't be able to suck anything through that and pull that water out. So the water sat in there, it froze, it burst. When the water turned back on, it was spraying water all over the place. So we had water pouring down out over there. I had to cut out the ceiling, figure out what was going on, and that's when I found the pipe. Over here, I don't know which way is the best way to spin. Over here, we had water coming out there too. It was the same damage. It wasn't anything else, but with the way that the ceiling was, it was coming out here, and it was coming out. The other hole is over there. So, but you can kind of see here is the model of the episode. So if you look into that hole, what do you see? You see a wire that has been snipped off and tucked into the ceiling like no one would know. Now, this actually happens a lot. And right now, it's not really a big deal. But we're going to find out if it is a big deal. We're going to use a voltage sniffer, or a voltage tester. This thing right here. This is a voltage tester. So when I turn it on, this is a very useful tool for anyone, not just electricians, but even you yourself as a homeowner. If you come across any kind of electrical wiring or anything like that, you don't want to mess with it. It would be good to have one of these. It'll tell you if it's live or not. Should you be touching it, or are you going to turn into bacon? Stuff like that. So it's a very useful tool. I got this at Home Depot. You can pretty much get it at any kind of hardware store at all. They make a lot of different ones. This one has a built-in flashlight to it. I have another model that does different zones. Anyway, it's very useful. So this is a voltage sniffer. This will tell us if the voltage is live or not. So as I hold it up to the wire, you see that? See how it's lighting up and it's making a beeping noise? That says if you touch it, you're going to turn into bacon. So that's a live wire. Things that make you go, really? Really? You don't bury live wires like that, folks. It's like a serious fire hazard, burying a wire like that. But actually, that's not even the end of the episode. So I saw that wire, and I'm up there sticking my head in the ceiling there, trying to figure out where the wire goes, because I need to shut that off. So possibility, there's a light right here that actually plugs into the wall. So what I can do is I can take that wire and I can hardwire this light. And I can put a light switch. I was just going to put a light switch right in the ceiling here. We're in a basement, so no, it's not very attractive putting a putting a light switch right there. But unless I want to do some serious rewiring, putting light switch somewhere else on the wall, that's probably just the easiest thing to do. And like I said, this plugs in anyway, so it's putting a light switch right next to it would almost be more convenient. So that's what I was going to do, but I was curious, like, hey, where does this wire go? So I stuck my head into the ceiling, and I see that the wire runs over this way. So I'm going to walk over here, and I've got a hole up here in the ceiling. And I was able to stick my head up into the hole, and then I was able to figure out where, so I'm looking around trying to figure out where this wire goes. And then I find this. Can you see what that is, everybody? What that is 4 electrical wires coming together, encased in a gigantic ball of electrical tape, and then buried in a ceiling where no one will ever see it again. It's really the same problem. It's a buried connection. Gigantic fire hazard. Like, I can't even describe how unbelievably dangerous something like that is. 4 wires together. One wire that's, like 2 wires connecting together, a continuous wire, that's still stupid, but at least I could understand. But the amount of connections in there, you're drastically increasing the chance of sparking or anything like this. If you are ever doing any kind of electrical project, don't ever do something like this. And if you happen to find something like this while you're doing any kind of renovation, call an electrician or a handyman or someone immediately to have this fixed. Like, that cannot stay like that. I need to put a junction box in the ceiling here so that all of these wires are exposed. And not only the fire hazard, let's just say that one of these connections came loose, and all of a sudden you just lose half the power, and, well, we're in a basement. Half the power in the basement's just gone. Now what are you doing? Now you're ripping down walls, you're tearing out ceilings, or you're rewiring stuff. You're trying to find the buried junction that some other nincompoop buried, and that's why you've lost all your electricity. So, things that make you go, really? Really? Yeah. Bad juju, folks. Don't do that. If you're going to do an electrical connection, it's got to be in a junction box. Even if it doesn't look pretty. Yeah, I know, you don't want to put a random junction box in the middle of your wall. Get a longer wire, or, yeah, I don't know. You gotta put a junction box. That's a huge fire hazard, and it will cause you problems later on down the road. If one of these connections come loose, you're going to lose all your electricity. And the new owner would have never found that. I found it by accident because if that pipe wouldn't have burst, I'd have never found this. I'd have never found this if that pipe hadn't burst. I would have never known. And then the homeowner could have lost electricity down there. They would have never found it. They would have either had to tear out all the ceiling, assuming that there's a buried electrical junction somewhere, or they would have had to just throw a new wire in, rewire the whole thing, get a new wire to where it starts, and then try and do it like that. But either way, bad news. So, thank you for joining me. That has been this latest episode of Things That Make You Go, really? Bye-bye for now.